I want to repeat the beginning of the reading, the Ralph Waldo Emerson piece, because I love it so much. He says, "The roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are what they are. They exist with God today. There is simply the rose. It is perfect in every moment of its existence." Wow, what would life be like if we thought of ourselves that way? What would life be like if we thought of ourselves as perfect in every moment of our existence? What would the world be like if everyone thought of themselves that way? Sometimes it's hard to even make sense of thinking about ourselves that way, but I think we can. You know, every one of us is this package of traits and characteristics, an outpicturing of too many factors to even think about. Biological, genetic, environmental, bodily, psychological, spiritual. So just like those blades of grass and those snowflakes, each one of us is unique and uniquely who we are, uniquely who we came here to be. And since each one of us is an expression of life, with a capital L, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, each one of us is, as the reading says, the holy made visible. I love that. I am the holy made visible. I am the say that with me. I am the holy made visible. Say it again. I am the holy made visible. Ooh. Made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. This word perfect. I am perfect. I am perfect in this moment. I am perfect for whatever is here. Perfect comes from a Latin word that means that it's not missing any parts. Everything is there that's necessary. Each of us has all the essential components to be who we are, perfectly, completely, wholly, at every moment, don't we? I mean, each one of us is who we are. Each one of us is our unique self. How could we be anything other than completely, perfectly ourselves? We have all the parts. We have all the parts. Yes, we all have things we're working on. Don't get me wrong, I have a list. But the things that we're working on are part of who we are right now. And the things that we've changed were part of that perfection before we changed them. And the things that will change tomorrow are part of our experience today, right here and right now. At any moment, who we are is perfect. We are whole and complete, and nothing is missing in this moment. And if there is a divine intelligence, whether you believe there is or not, I happen to believe that there is, but regardless, if you want to just call it life or the universe, we're made from it, we're made by it, we're an expression of it, we're always growing and changing. But at this moment, we are what we are. We are what we are, and nothing is missing. And so by definition, there is a perfection in this moment, in each one of us. We are the holy made visible. The rose that Emerson mentioned got me thinking, because I used to be a big gardener. I used to have a giant flower garden, and I have a degree in horticulture from some obscure Canadian university. But I did have to work to get it. I didn't get it just by sending them $50. I did have to work. I did have to learn. But if you are a gardener, you know that a garden is made up of all kinds of flowers, not just one kind. And that if you study them, every flower as it sets seed, the seeds are all different. There are 1,000 kinds of seeds in a garden, and each one has a different coating on it. And I learned a whole lot about those kinds of coatings. The coatings are different because different flowers require different conditions in order to sprout and grow and bloom. Some seeds need darkness. Some seeds need light, and if you sow them too deeply, they won't sprout. I've done that many times. Put them way down and they rot and die. Other seeds need to be beat up a little bit. Lotus seeds, for example. You can't just take a lotus seed and plant it in the mud, which incidentally is where it has to be planted, but that's another sermon, in the mud, right? A lotus seed has to be nicked with a knife or a rock or somehow, so that the water can get in and set off the seed growing and putting down roots and sending out shoots and all of that. But The coating allows the lotus seed to stay viable. I read recently of 1,000-year-old lotus seeds that were nicked and planted in the mud, and they grew, and they created a pond full of lotus flowers and a whole bunch more seeds. Some seeds need really rough treatment. They have to be left out through a couple of seasons, freeze, thaw, get battered around by the rocks, and then they will grow. Some seeds need combinations of those things. You know, most of us buy lily bulbs, not seeds, and there's a reason. Lilies need 3 months of cold, followed by 1 to 3 months of warm, in that order, at the right temperature for the right length. And some seeds have to be sown immediately after they fall off the mother plant, or they'll dry out and die. From the point of view of the garden, every one of those seeds is perfect. Every one of those seeds is just right for its conditions. Each one needs life to be just as it is for that seed, or nothing happens. If I am a lily, why do I sometimes long to be a petunia? If you are a rose, why do you sometimes want to be a lotus? You know, we get confused. If I'm a lily, who am I to rebel? Why do I rebel against being left for 3 months out in the cold after I've spent 3 months in the warmth? I mean, what's going on here? It's what I need. It's what I have to grow. If I'm a baby Sweet William, there's no point in trying to force myself to bloom this year, because Sweet Williams are biennial. I can't bloom till next year. And yet I try to force myself to bloom now. It kind of makes more sense to me to view life as giving us just what we need to become who we're becoming. Wouldn't it make more sense to go through whatever experience we're going through as just the conditioning we need to put down roots and send out shoots and grow and blossom and set seed? You know, maybe it's all just right. Maybe it's all perfect for this moment. And maybe you were perfect for yesterday when yesterday was now, and you'll be perfect tomorrow when tomorrow is now. Maybe each one of us in every single moment is the perfect, unique, whole, wonderful individual in the perfect place at the time they're there. If life is viewed in that way, there's a great joy that comes about. There's a great joy in realizing that I'm a baby Sweet William. How cool is that? That means this year I get to grow fabulous roots. And next year I will flower like nobody's business. And I wondered if each seed accepts its conditioning, it accepts what it's becoming, then perfection is revealing itself joyfully. And what would happen if people lived more that way? What would life be like for us if we accepted our own perfection at every moment of our existence? What would the world be like? My first thought when I pondered that was, that kind of world would be a world that worked for everybody, wouldn't it? It would work for everybody if we all knew that we were at this moment just what we needed to be for the moment. The second thought that came to my head was, of course, an old one that my parents and others gave me. Well, that's stupid. If everybody thought they were perfect, why would anybody do anything different? And why wouldn't they just go out and be mean and awful and hurt other people? And because then they could still think they were perfect. See, I believe that hurting others and acting badly comes from inner pain. I think it comes from inner pain. I think it comes from self-judgment and self-loathing. Bad actors are people who are suffering. And sometimes the pain is so deep they don't even know they're suffering it. They act badly, whether it's rudeness or cruelty or whatever, because they think it's going to relieve the pain. And sometimes it does for a minute, and then the pain comes back, and so they do it again. Common example. Some shy people, by definition, a shy person is not necessarily an introvert, but is someone who doesn't say or do what he wants to because he's afraid that other people will judge him. That's a shy person. Some shy people, whenever they're put on the spot, their armor comes up real big, and they come off as kind of cranky. You know what I mean? Judgmental even. And it's only because they're shy and they're afraid they're going to be judged. It's their armor coming up. If this shy person really, really knew that however he or she was absolutely perfect for this moment of time, that might just override the fear that somebody else is going to think they're not perfect. If it were really deeply known by us, each one of us. A more difficult example crossed my mind, and that is the example of kids joining gangs. Why do kids join gangs? A kid joins a gang that is involved in very dangerous and illegal activities. Lots of gang members die, but kids still join. Why? Because there they get a support and an acknowledgement that they don't get at home. There are probably other reasons, but there's a great validation that comes from that group. And if that validation were not so necessary, the attraction would be a lot less. You know, to give a kid a sense that he or she is perfect right now, as they are in this moment, and as they are becoming in the next moment, might make that draw a little less attractive. Think about yourself for a minute. The times that you judge yourself so harshly. I think we might treat ourselves a little less badly if we'd stop and remember that in this moment I am all that I need to be. There's nothing missing. For this moment, everything before led me to this moment, and in this moment I am just perfect. Nothing missing. The next moment will be different because they always are, but now I am just who I need to be. I think we probably would treat ourselves better and maybe even allow ourselves to experience a little of that joy that comes from knowing that we're right where we're supposed to be and we are who we are supposed to be for this moment. And I don't think we'd be so hard on other people either, because I think we act towards other people out of our relationship with ourselves. So when we feel broken, we look for people we can look at and say, she's more broken than I am, in order that we feel okay about ourselves. If we never felt broken because whatever was going on was exactly what was supposed to be coming to us, given who we are at the moment, we might not feel that way quite so much. And I'm not saying that every one of us should never try to change anything. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think the notion that if we're nice to ourselves and affirming of ourselves and supportive of ourselves will make us stop growing is part of the reason we all grow up thinking we're not enough. Instead of our parents, instead of saying, you know, this is happening perfectly and you're doing great, they were afraid to do that because they thought we'd get egotistical and stop growing. So they kind of went to the other direction and said, work harder, push more, study harder, get better grades, get a better job, get thinner, get prettier, get more stuff. All of that stuff that society chimes right in and tells us too. But so like so much of life, this is not an either or, it's a both and. It's a both and. In the moment, if we can sense that this moment is perfect, and so are we, to meet it, to learn from it, to grow through it, then we do those two things simultaneously. We hold ourselves as nothing missing. There's nothing to wait for. There's nothing that needs to come to me from outside. And I'm becoming more. And I think the key is to look at life as a process of transformation. In every single moment, something more is happening because we live in a universe that's evolutionary in nature. It's always becoming something more, and so are we. If we look at it as a process, I know that I'm always becoming something different than I am right now. But what I am right now for this moment is just perfect. I think we make the mistake of viewing life as a series of transactions. When I get this, I'll be okay. When I do that, when the weather is better, when my husband does this, when I make this much money, whatever it is, when I get that, then I'll be okay. When I can meditate undisturbed for 7 breaths, or 7 minutes, or 7 hours, I will be enlightened, right? When I can manifest easily and gracefully my desires, I will have arrived. And that view takes us right back to the same old place. The same old place of, okay, when that thing happens, I'll make it. I'll be all right. We are not okay right now if we're always looking for that thing that will happen to make us okay. But if life is a process of transformation, then what exists is. And it is complete and whole and perfect right now. Right now. And there is always something new trying to happen through us at the same time. At the same time. So if we were to consider ourselves and this moment as whole and perfect and just right, nothing missing, and ask ourselves what is trying to be born? What in me is trying to put down roots? And what do I need to do right in this moment to make that happen? Then we feel the joy of becoming, and we can allow the becoming to happen instead of insisting that the becoming looks a certain way, or insisting that we bloom now when we're not supposed to bloom till next year, or insisting that, those nicks don't have to happen to me because I can crack this seed coat just fine by myself, thank you very much. Perhaps we do need the nick. Perhaps we need the bump on the rock. Perhaps we need the freezing night to crack open whatever it is that needs to be cracked open in order that we may become what is coming next. But at that moment, we're a seed. That's okay. That's actually really joyful to just be a seed. Just be. Just be. Just be and know that all is well. And know that what I become tomorrow will be well too. And the day after that will be well. And what I was yesterday was well. Because it's always, always perfect. It's always this garden blooming and blossoming, and it takes all the flowers. And when we can live in that kind of joy and that kind of allowing and that kind of welcoming of transformation, instead of waiting for the next transaction, we start to treat ourselves differently. We start to treat our kids differently. We start to treat each other differently. We start to show each other that it's absolutely perfect that you're a rose and I'm a lily and he's a lotus and she's a daisy, because all of them are necessary. Every single human being, every single life on earth is necessary. The garden requires all the flowers, not just some of them. It requires all of them. And it requires all of us to bloom and to thrive so that we can be complete, so that we can be all that we came here to be. And I think when we believe that, we help the world find the joy in the becoming. We help children find the delight in being the seed and finding out what kind of fruit they were born to bear, and finding that beautiful gift that they're here to give. We find the joy in being the seed and the root and the shoot and the blossom and all of it. We find the joy in being and becoming. The joy of being the holy made visible. And when we live from that, other people are given permission to do the same thing, including our children and our neighbors and our friends and the people that we interact with. When we can look and say, you are a beautiful blossom, and so am I. Then we are sort of, it seems to me, practicing the idea that we are all the holy made visible. And so I invite you right now to just go within, just to allow your awareness to sink down within you and to ask yourself, what is the seed in me that is putting down roots and sending out shoots? And what, if anything, do I need to do other than just be? Look down within yourself and see that conditions are absolutely perfect for this seed that is sending down roots and sending out shoots and stretching toward the light. because in this place there is such joy. The joy of becoming, the joy of knowing that there's only God here. There's only God everywhere, by whatever name you call it. There's only life here. There's only that presence or that power or that intelligence. That's all there is. There's nothing outside of it. And it exists everywhere, in every moment of time. It exists in and through each one of us as we are it, made visible. We are the place it shows up in the world. So whether we show up white or pink or blue or green or purple or black or brown or yellow or whatever color, whatever shape of bloom, each one of us is perfect and necessary. Each one of us is part of that garden called God. And each one of us is absolutely perfect, just as we are right now, right here. And as we become in the next moment, and as we become in the moment after that, and the moment after that, in each moment, we are absolutely perfect. And I simply know this is the truth of who we are. And so I speak my word for each one of us that we realize now and in the next moment and the moment after that, the great, deep, resounding joy in being, the joy in blossoming, the joy in putting down roots, the joy in cracking the seed coat, all the joy that there is in being the holy made visible. And because I know this is the truth of our being, I say thank you. I say thank you to the whole universe for all of it, for every flower, for every experience, for all of life, the dark and the light, the cold and the warm, the tumbling and the being still, because it is all part of life, this amazing, joyful experience. So I simply say thank you, and I let it be. And we acknowledge it and anchor it by saying together, and so it is.
How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How deeply you're connected to my soul.
And now we have an opportunity to work with this law of circulation, but also to support our center, to express our gratitude for this spiritual community by supporting it. We are here because of your gifts, solely because of your gifts and contributions, and I thank you for that. And I invite you to just bring joy and gratitude into your mind for a moment, and take a moment to reflect on the blessings in your life, the blessing of community, the blessing of life, the blessing of friends and family, the blessing of a roof over your head, all of those things, clothes to wear, running water, most of the time hot when it's supposed to be hot, and most of the time cold when it's supposed to be cold. We are so blessed. And to repeat after me, gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance.
Gratefully I give with an attitude
I know that as I give, so do I receive. Abundantly. And so it is.